Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for a GoToRoom Dolby Voice Deminar. Here at LogMeIn, we are super excited to introduce GoToRooms with Dolby Voice. We truly feel like now we have the experience that we've been looking to facilitate in the conference room, bringing all the same functionality that you'd expect in starting a GoToMeeting on your desktop or mobile application, now brought to the conference phone. Dolby is truly one of those companies that doesn't really need too much of an introduction, just given its legacy in the entertainment space with incredible camera as well as the audio experience. So again, super excited to bring this partnership together and really facilitate just the high level performance in terms of communications now in a conference room. So today we're going to go over some of the key features of GoToRoom with Dolby Voice and some of the real value adds in bringing something like this to your organization. In terms of the implementation of the Dolby Voice conference system, it really is a one-stop shop for the hardware and software bundle. The software is going to come preloaded on the device, which makes it a super easy setup and installation. You can expect the intuitive and user-friendly feel that you have when you start a meeting on your desktop, now just brought into the conference room. So we really feel with this setup now and some of the value adds that you're seeing here, it's going to be very easy from a implementation perspective, but also very easy from a end user perspective as well. Now the same experience that you'd expect on that desktop and mobile device are brought to the conference room. For IT, like I mentioned before, it is that turnkey installation. The setup process is about 15 minutes or less. It's really just taking everything out of the box and plugging in a few USBs to connect everything in. You have it backed by the industry-leading reliability in a meeting solution like GoToMeeting, backed by the reliability by Dolby Voice. Super easy management and room dashboard, and again, all of this software is going to come preloaded for you on the hardware. No provisioning that you need to do as an admin here. For users, you have that Dolby Voice, crystal clear audio and video capabilities, very intuitive user interface, and a streamlined join experience that we'll get to in a few moments. Last but not least there, you have that calendar integration with Microsoft Outlook, as well as Google Calendar. So that same flow that your users enjoy today in going to a calendared Outlook appointment to invite people to your meeting can now be streamlined to start within that conference room. Now, this really comes down to three things. Simplicity, both from an admin and an end user, experience for your end users and admins in terms of the setup process and just that easy, intuitive feel from that conference room. Last but not least is the value. So a few different pricing models that we've introduced here that we'll get to at the end of today's presentation. But very flexible in terms of how you'd want to pay for a conference room solution like this. Once again, Dolby is truly one of those companies that does not need an introduction, but some of the things that you could expect with the Dolby Voice GoToRoom solution is the elimination of background noise, intelligent attendee framing, and lighting adjustments. All right, so let's take a deeper dive on the hardware components. So we have the Dolby conference phone. That's the only piece of hardware that's required on the conference room table. That's going to be the mic and speakers, as well as control the in-session functionality. Now, when someone walks into that conference room, they're really going to be presented with four options there. One, they'll have their scheduled meetings. So their meeting will appear within the upcoming meeting list for that one-touch start. They'll also have the Meet Now capabilities. Of course, you can join a meeting. You can also use the proximity URL or the present option. By clicking on the present option, it'll generate a link for you to type into either Chrome or Firefox to just wirelessly cast your screen to the display in the room. And finally, it is a SIP-enabled device. If you click on the phone option, you'll then be presented with the ability to then dial out, providing you provisioned it to your SIP provider. Now, if you take a closer look at the Dolby conference phone, you'll also notice the same familiar feel that you would expect if you were to start a meeting on your desktop or mobile device. Same icons to mute and unmute, toggle on and off your camera, to chat with other participants. Again, all controlled right through that single interface there on the Dolby conference phone. Next, we have the Dolby Hub. That's really the brains of the operation. From an aesthetics perspective, typically that's tucked behind, say, the display in the room if they have a TV. but that's what's going to be running the GoToMeeting software. And finally, you have the Dolby camera. That is a digital camera, 4K sensor, and 95-degree wide-angle lens. Now, from a connection standpoint, you'll have the hub connect into a power source. It'll connect into an Ethernet port. You'll then have the phone connect back into the hub, into the power over Ethernet port. The hub will be connected via HDMI to the display, and then you'll have the hub connect back into the camera. That's it. That's all that's required from a connection standpoint. Next, we'll discuss our key video features available through the Dolby camera. So we have intelligent attendee framing. Of course, whiteboard framing, to be able to easily see the whiteboard from an attendee perspective. And last, you have the high dynamic range video mapping, making sure that everyone within that conference room is coming through clearly, regardless of the brightness in that room, if you have windows and so forth. Let's take a look at the different visual options. Let's take a deeper dive on the visual options available through the Dolby camera. Right now, I am in the room view. This will be the default option, and it's really just capturing the entire conference room. Everything available in that 95-degree wide-angle lens. The zoom on this can also be adjusted. But next we have people view. That was that intelligent attendee framing that we were speaking to before. So what this is doing is it's recognizing who's in that conference room and where are they positioned. So if I go out of frame there, the Dolby camera will recognize that and repan within that room so that I'm captured as the individual that's in this conference room. Now, if I were to walk through to the other side of the conference room here, you notice that the Dolby camera will be able to pick me up from over here and change that pan accordingly. Where if you colleagues walk into the conference room, again, it'll resize that and capture all those that are in that conference room. Now, the next option that we have is the whiteboard view. So if I go back just to zoom out on the whiteboard again, you'll notice that it's basically positioned parallel with the conference room table. Now, as I go into the whiteboard view here, you'll notice that it, one, is changing how it's formatted on your side as an attendee, and two, it's also changing the contrast to minimize any glare. Whiteboards have a tendency to pick up glare, and by changing the contrast, it minimizes that as much as possible. Then we'll go back into the people view here. So, some pretty great features available through the Dolby camera. Now we'll go over some of the key audio features here. So we have the full room pickup. The range of capture is about 15 feet from wherever that Dolby conference room phone is going to be positioned. The Dolby Voice phone is going to be positioned in that conference room. So you'll notice as I walk around the room here, it's going to be able to still capture my voice and facilitate that high-level Dolby voice experience in terms of the range of capture. The other thing is you may have colleagues that are closer to the Dolby Voice phone than others. It's a larger conference room. So historically with conference room phones, if you're sitting right on top of that conference phone, you're going to be coming through much louder than someone that might be further away. But with the Dolby Voice, it's going to dynamically level those voices. So from an attendee perspective, it's going to come through at about the same audio level. And last but not least, I mentioned our flexible pricing model. So we've introduced something called RaaS, or Room as a Service, which really eliminates the headache of purchasing any hardware. If you wanted to just lease the hardware, essentially, you're able to do that in a few different pricing models. Of course, you can still purchase the hardware outright, but we wanted to make it as simple and flexible as possible to make sure that it's going to fit your budget, wherever that budget may be coming from. So once again, thank you all so much for joining me for today's GoToRoom's Dolby Deminar. Please reach out to your sales representative if you have any questions. We'd love to have you on board and facilitate that conference room experience that you've been looking for your organization. Take care, everyone.